we're going to be going over Pear Deck. So if you're not necessarily familiar with Pear Deck, it works in conjunction with Google Slides. Within Google Slides, there's something called an add-on. What you're going to see is something that says add-ons up here on the bar, and go to get add-ons, and you're going to be able to click on it and install it as an add-on, and then it should pop up there and be visible. Then you're off of this and go into the slide deck. Before we begin, we want to make sure we're in Google. We want to make sure that we're with slides. We want to make sure that there's add-ons. Those three are important. peardeck.com. It's going to take you to that Pear Deck website. And what's going to happen is it's going to have something that says teacher login. You're going to want to choose login with Google and then log in with your Google credentials. One thing I'll cover really quick is within peardeck.com, there are some settings. So once I'm in my account and I go to settings here, there are some default settings you can change for every single Pear Deck that you run. Is requiring the students to log in. And the reason you want them to log in with their Google account is so you can see while the students are going through a Pear Deck, who's doing which answer, how they're answering things. It will keep student takeaways that will automatically go into their drives at the end. Now let's talk about what the heck Pear Deck is and what Pear Deck does. What Pear Deck does is it has three components to it. Number one is it allows students to be working on their individual computers and answering questions or anything that's going off of a main screen. There's going to be another component to Pear Deck, which is the teacher part, and the teacher part actually has two parts. Part number one is that they're going to have something they share with the whole class. There is also a teacher dashboard where the teacher can be secretly watching, and I suggest either a tablet or a phone, or I used to have just two screens. You can be sharing this part to the students, but you can be watching the students and see who is answering questions and who's not. There are two different views. That's going to be the student view, where they're going to be able to see the main screen, and then the teacher's going to be able to see every single student's, see the names and stuff. Hence, signing in with Google is important. It is web-based, so everything's going to be running through Chrome, and it's going to be running through the web. What Pear Deck does is it essentially has 6 different interactive slide questions that you can add to any slide. Let's talk about creating straight from a template and what that looks like. The very first time that you're going to use Pear Deck is you're going to go up here to that Pear Deck image, or if that wasn't there, you're just going to go to add-ons and go to Pear Deck right here. It all functions within Google Slides itself. So that's where it gets a little bit confusing, is Pear Deck does have that website where everything's going to be housed as far as student responses, sessions that you launch, but as far as the actual materials to build with and use, they're going to be right here on the right side of the screen inside Google Slides. So the place I like to start in their template library. So if I click on this little arrow with the template library, what I love about the Pear Deck template library is it's a little bit like Google, since it is web-based, that if they're constantly adding something or they come up with something, it's always being updated. They have all these different categories for the beginning of a lesson, during a lesson, different content, learning development, and these two are new. They are updating them constantly, and they're adding new ones. I'm going to go here and just click on beginning of the lesson, and this is what you're going to see. What it's going to do is it's sort of in a roundabout way copies this template slide, and it's going to pull it into our slide deck. You can scroll through them and see what types of questions they are. If I go here and I click on this text slide and I just click on it, in a minute you're going to notice that it's just going to pop right in here into my Google slide presentation. What's nice about the Pear Deck templates is it has these cute little pictures and backgrounds. I absolutely love them. I can change the question. So if I said, what did you wonder about today's topic? I can ask that, or I can say, what did you do this summer? And I can ask that question. The one thing you have to remember with Pear Deck, and it says right here in green, but very small, do not delete this bar. You will only see the student part when the actual activity is launched. So just to show you some options, I've been through here and I did a multiple choice one. So before it puts it in there, when I click on it, in the case of multiple choice and draggables, it is going to let you change those components. So if you want to edit it, I'm going to go here and go to multiple choice because it's a multiple choice question, and it's going to give me a window to change those options. So you can change those multiple choice options, and then I can update the slide. But if you're like, yeah, but it says true and false on the screen, I can change anything that has text on it. And I can also go up here and say, doing this in honor of my boss. He like collects Star Wars stuff and he loves it. So I'm going to say, Star Wars is a great movie. Yes, no, maybe. Drawing ones, it's not going to really have you change anything. It has the most tools for students to use. But when you put it in there as a teacher, you're just dropping in a template, and that's pretty much it. There's a number slide. So they do have a lot of math versions. So I'm going to go back here to the template library. So if I go here to this math one, there's multiple choice versions. Which of these don't belong? And students can drag the little image to which one they say don't belong. They can draw the different vertices, or they can draw angles, like acute angles or something. So they have so many options. I love that they can do the graphs for X and Y. And the last one I want to kind of talk about a little bit is that you can add draggable slides. I really liked how this one had the draggable slide with the map in the background. So I'm going to click on this one to pull it in. I can click on draggable, and this is where you can reformat and change some of those options. So it defaulted to a red flag and sort of this orange pin and a yellow fish and a compass, but they do have a lot of images you can use. So I'm going to do this drop down right here. And let's say I wanted to put a heart on there. I can make kids do a heart. I can also change the colors. If I don't want red in this case, I'm going to make our flag purple. So the ones you can really change are multiple choice and the draggable ones. The other ones are pretty much where you just drop the question in or you drop the slide in. There's not a whole lot from the teacher's point of view. I think the aha moment's probably going to come as the student and how those questions are made and what they are. Once you're in a slide deck and you've thrown some Pear Deck slides in there and you think that they're pretty good, start on whatever slide you want or at the very beginning of the slide deck, and you're going to hit Start Session. And what it's going to do is it's actually going to ask me how I want to run this. Two different ways. I can run it either student-paced activity or instructor-paced activity. The great thing about the instructor-paced activity is it forces the students to be on whatever slide you're on your screen at all times. You can set it up where there is a student-paced mode. I would have all the students together with me in like a small group, maybe a differentiated activity for them, and go over it all together instructor-paced, and then I'd say, okay, go back to your small groups and work on your sections, and then I can switch it back so they can work at whatever speed they're going. But what I'm going to do is start it in instructor paced. There are two different screens. This is presentation screen, and I'm actually going to pull this out. This is actually the teacher dashboard. On the teacher dashboard, it's going to show me what's happening versus the presentation screen is what the students are going to see. So we're going to both bounce back and forth between screens today. So what I would like you to do now, I'm going to show you kind of at the same time. I'm going to do two screens on one screen here. That there's this teacher dashboard, and there is going to be what the student sees while you're presenting. So, and what I would like you to do is either go to joinpd.com, or if you notice on my screen, I can give students a link. So if I click on that, I'm able to copy that link. You'll be able to click on that link, and it's going to take you right there to the student version of the Pear Deck. And what you're going to want to do is, as a student, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see the screen that's on my screen. On my teacher side, if you're there right now, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to present in teacher instructor mode. And when I move on to the next slide, your screen's going to change automatically. And on your screen, you're going to be able to answer. So as a teacher, you're not going to be seeing the question types and what the questions are on your screen. You're going to be seeing this. Okay, so on the screen I'm presenting to the students, so this is what I'm going to say, I'm going to bounce back and forth. On the screen I'm presenting to the students, I'm asking them, what did you guys do this summer? And I can see that I had 7 of 9 responses. And while I'm presenting, I can actually go here to lock screen, and you can actually set a timer. If I go on the lock screen and I hold it down, I push and I hold it, I can set it for like 30 seconds or a minute. Look back up here at me. Look back up at the main screen, or in this case, back at the main me, and I'll say, let's look at some of the responses. So now you can show responses, and when you show it from the teacher presentation screen, they're anonymous, but you see they don't have their names tied to them. So it's kind of nice that when you're presenting this to the class and you're showing those responses, they're not seeing each other. That's why it's so important to know the difference between the presentation screen that would be up on the whiteboard or up on the Promethean board versus the one, I used to do it on a separate tablet. I'm obviously trying to do this on the same screen so I can show you guys. Now I can go through and say, ooh, Christina, she went to the Great Wolf Lodge. Before I show those responses, I can go through here on my teacher screen and go, ooh, that was a good response. I'm gonna star that one. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna star this one. Now what the stars do is when I go to that presentation screen and I go, okay, everyone's just about responded. Let me show our responses. It's gonna put the starred ones at the top. They don't know that I went through and put the starred ones on the top, like, ooh, that's a good answer. It just seems like that's what happened. So that's what the starred feature does, is it adds those starred ones up on the top. When I launched the Pear Deck, it's automatically going to pull up a tab and then another tab, which is the teacher dashboard. It's like I like to run it on a different screen. I would go to peardeck.com. If you log in, you can go here to this tab that says sessions. So it's going to keep every single session that you run, including the one I just started. See, it says I have a live session right now. You can go here to presentation view and teacher view, and I would open the teacher one on my iPad, or sometimes I just use my phone. I could do this one on the teacher dashboard and then have this one up on the board. And I'm going to go on to the next screen and say, okay, do you guys think that Star Wars is a great movie? So you see how multiple choice now looks a little bit different. It has those bubbly answers that say yes, no, maybe. Now that I'm moving on to the Star Wars movie, when I show student responses, it shows up as a poll. So it's kind of nice to see this many people said yes, this many people said no, this many people said maybe. You can see how many people got the right answer. On my teacher dashboard, I can hover over it and see the names of the people who got it. So I can be like, ah, these people say yes. Aileen doesn't like it. That's cool. It's all right. And over here is the people who said maybe. If I go on to the next question, which is the drawing one, I think drawing is my favorite, kind of just because of how much you can demonstrate with students and the different things you can do it. I've taken worksheets and I've put them in the background of Pear Deck, and then students can fill them out and like show their work, and then I can kind of demonstrate with those. So I'm gonna go back to the teacher dashboard real quick. And in this case, let's say, if I go to Risa and I'm like, ooh, she's having a hard time, and I don't want to accidentally show hers and I don't want to embarrass her and stuff, I can go here to these 3 dots and I can hide her response. You can also leave feedback. So if you're not able to get to them in class, or they're kind of far away and you're trying to work with another group, you can click on this button right here and I can leave her feedback and say, you forgot one, and then I can send feedback. On her screen, it's going to look like a little bubble on her screen, it's going to be a little call out bubble right here. And if she clicks on it, it's going to say you have feedback from your teacher. And it says, hey, you forgot one. And then once they correct it, and they can correct it right away because we're all on the slide, I can show the response again. So on drawing, another really neat thing when you're showing the responses is you can change how they show up. So these are anonymous, and you can kind of see that everyone has the same sort of look about them on the grid. Or if you want it to be a little bit more blown up and linear, you can change it up here in the top left to list layout. And now I can see, you know, everyone as a list. What's really neat on drawing is there's also an overlay layout. So if I do this overlaid layout, you can see how everyone's done it on top of each other. I'm going to go over to my teacher dashboard. This one, and I was going to go back and show you, has student names on them. This one is a numerical answer, which is kind of nice for students who tend to not want to read directions a little bit. It only allows them to put in a number. So it's kind of nice that they know automatically or right away, oh, I need to put in a number. The number response is a little different. They show it like as a number line, so you can kind of see an idea of where they put it. If you're the teacher, you can hover over it and see where you're supposed to see where everyone's little dot is. The last type of question is going to be the draggable one. You can move those little flags where you think things belong. Same thing with those draggable slides is that if you want to show the response, you're going to see everyone's overlaid on top of each other. So you can be like, oh, someone over here thought that this was Africa, you know, or something. And then in the grid layout, you can get a better idea of where each person put their little dots. Okay, pop-up activities. This is what a pop-up activity is if I'm in the middle of a slide presentation and I'm running it through Pear Deck and I was like, oh, I didn't put a question on this slide, but the students are asking questions and we're having a good conversation about this, I'm just going to throw one up there really fast. You can do it in the middle of a lesson. So I'm going to go here to new prompt. And it does basically the default most popular ones that are a little bit more generic. Okay, I'm getting this feeling you guys are overwhelmed and you're stressed out. Let's put a dot in how we're feeling right now. I'm going to put that up there. It's up on the screen now. You guys can go to the student one. I can't change it when I'm in the middle of running it. It's kind of nice to be able to just plop one of those in there really fast and just very quickly get a gauge. And I don't have to see who answered it of where people are at. I'm in the middle of a session. And in this session, I'm going to switch over to student paced mode. And I think I gave like 5 minutes, but if we need a little bit more time, we'll be on there. What's great about Pear Deck is you can flip it from whole group instruction to individual instruction in the same exact lesson. So you can kind of go from synchronous to asynchronous and kind of back and forth. So to do that, or my teacher presentation mode here, and I'm going to go, okay, you guys, I want you to go work on your own. You can go through it at your own pace. And so I'm going to go here, these 3 dots, and I'm going to turn on student paced mode. So you remember at the beginning we did instructor paced? I'm going to flip it around to student paced. So now I'm not going to present on my screen. Go back to the tab where you had Pear Deck, if it's still open. If not, I can give you the code again. And what you're going to notice is on the student paced mode, you can now go through those slides and I'm not controlling them. You can move ahead as much as you want. You can go back as much as you want. The ones that I've designed now on the slides that are coming up, I actually had Google Slides that I already had and I just stuck questions in them. I just put the question types in them. So in a minute, I'm going to end the session and go back to the slide deck and show you like, yeah, you can just drop those in real quick. And so I'm going to give you guys about 5 or 6 minutes. And if you have questions, you can ask questions if you want. But you can go through here and just kind of see they're the same question types. They're just in different ways. Or they have different background images. Like I took a picture of an article and stuck it in the background. And then we'll talk about the takeaways and how you can go back and look at the student info. So I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes. The biggest thing is if you do create a student paced slide deck, put a big stop sign on there. You're going to get to a big stop sign that says stop. If you go back to the Meet, I wanted to show you that teacher dashboard when they're in student paced mode. I can see these little icons, and I can see that there's one student on what's your favorite thing about winter. And if I click on it, I can see their responses. And while they're doing student paced mode, I can still give them feedback. Like, I like to dress in warm clothes. I'm like, what do you like to do? You can send that feedback in student paced mode, just like it was in the full presentation mode. And I can see that one person's here and that 4 students are done. That's why I like to have that stop sign, so I know that they're finished versus they're still working on that last slide or whatever we were on. That is how this space is managed in the student paced mode. I can stop the student paced mode. So I'm gonna go over to the slide I want them to end on. That I'm gonna go here as the teacher and go stop student paced. When you are done with the session, either on this screen right here or on the screen that's the teacher dashboard, I can hit end. So you can name it, so like say like 4th period and then put the date or something like that. And then I'm going to save and end that session. But it's supposed to put in your drive a takeaway. And so what's going to happen is you're going to get a copy of all of your answers and responses from the slide deck, and you're going to get a digital copy of that slide deck. So if I go back, peardeck.com, it houses all of the student responses. You're like, now that it's over, how do I see it? That's when you go into that teacher login and you can click on that session and you can go back and look at all of the student responses still. So what you're gonna notice on Pear Deck is now I have that session here and it's closed off for presentation view because it's over. But I can go here now to the teacher dashboard and I can go back and look at all of the answers still as a teacher. So it's kind of nice that I can still go back and see, you can see all of those answers. Pear Deck 2.0 really covers adding websites, because we're gonna talk about adding websites, adding content to slides that already exist, and like some tips and tricks for that. One kind of went over templates and stuff, but on the bottom of the slide deck, and like I said, I'm gonna give it to you when I do the follow-up email, or it's gonna have links on the bottom of this slide to other resources, as well as a couple things that Pear Deck offers for free that I go over a little bit more in the next session, but you got them on there anyway.